between the denying of the past, which you can never get rid of because it travels with us, and the hoping for the future, the present has been emptied out. This is one of my theories, and that sets up, in a way, the scene for the Occupy movement. I'll come back to that. The emptying out of culture, the emptying out of the present moment sets up, I think, the scene for an Occupy movement, as if secretly Occupy is trying to re-inhabit the present moment and the present place. This is the theory I'm working with. So in a way, what's happened is there's a breakdown in the culture, and the breakdown creates the opportunity for a renewal of trust. The whole culture has been betrayed by so much of the politics, and to my own point of view, the entire notion of democracy is in danger between the preemptive wars and the loss of civil rights and the rise of the dominance of fear and all that kind of stuff. It's the exact liberty of democracy that is at risk. And so in my sense of things, there's a big battle going on. This is just how I'm looking at it now. On one side, you have what I'm calling the march of nihilism, or the spread of nihilism. The word nihil, it's a Latin word, and it means nothing at all. That's what it means. And so nihilism is like a catch-all phrase for attitudes of negation. Attitudes of negation. So when you have a certain part of the political body saying they don't want the Department of Education, and they don't want other kinds of institutions, and they don't want to fund food stamps, and they don't want to fund food programs for the poor. That's a negation of life. And it seems like a political thing, but if you do it enough, it gets to be a habit, and once it gets to be a habit, it's called nihilism. And what happens is things begin to really disappear, things that begin to move towards nothingness. Am I making some sense? In other words, it's an unconscious pull to emptiness. And the same thing when they say no new taxes. All those negations are secretly part, I think, of nihilism. And so then you get the emptying out of institutions. I mean, it's not just happening because of the political right, it's happening in general. Education gets emptied out. The banks are emptied out. So they have to print a whole bunch of money just to pretend there's an economy, that kind of thing. And it's kind of the spread of nihilism. And then you get the pinnacle of it, I think, in the current presidential debates amongst the GOP candidates, where they're just arguing about who can say no the most, that who can, they're trying to cut as many programs as possible, even when they can't remember the third one, But damn, if they could remember it, they'd cut it, And this is supposed to pass for, I don't know what, statesmanship or something, and so on. So to me, it's nihilism. And so on one side, I think there's nihilism, and on the other side, you have the kind of grassroots rising from below, Occupy, which is the opposite. Nihilism means empty out and don't have it, and Occupy means move in and hold on to it. So it's the opposite movement. This is what I think is going on, and at a kind of a mythological level or a cosmological level. And so then, to me, I look at Occupy a little differently than the way I read about it, in the sense that the fact that it has no clear message is part of its strength, because it's Occupy space, place, and presence, and so each place it goes, it gets a new shape and a new style and a new measure. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. Because also I grew up in the 60s, so I know once you get a straightforward message, they will co-opt it and shut you down. But if you're diverse like a forest, they can't catch up with you or figure you out. And by the time they figure out what you're really doing, you're too strong and you've gotten too many roots and too many shoots, and the whole thing is moving on. And there's promising things. I mean, it started as Occupy Wall Street, And then it became Occupy, you know, the park, and then Occupy Boston, Occupy DC, Occupy Oakland, LA, Occupy Seattle, Portland, everywhere you go is occupied. I stopped recently in Sedona, Arizona. You know Sedona, Arizona? You know, I mean, a little bit of an upper class place with a hell of a lot of crystals and things. They have Occupy Sedona. A few well-tanned people sitting on a street corner with signs, people giving them massages, and they're occupying Sedona. So if you occupy a place, you pick up its style, and it becomes specific. It becomes a place, an actual place, and I think that's what's trying to happen. I watched just last night on the news 2 instances of people occupying their own house after it has been foreclosed. And they're about to get evicted, and they're saying, no, we're not going. And then all the neighbors join them, and they're there with signs, you know. So, is it political? Yes. Is it economic? Yes. Is it only that? I'd say no. I think it's more closer to becoming occupy your life. That's what I think it becomes. Or my real move with it is to say occupy your soul, because the emptying out of the culture, the loss of sympathy between economic levels, and even the intensity of acrimony between political parties, all are evidence of the loss of soul. Soul is the thing that connects everybody. Soul is the kind of glue of culture. And it's soul that's been being lost all along. And when people think that the suffering of others doesn't affect them, they have lost their soul connection. They have lost their connection to the soul of everybody. And so the image I'm carrying, the bumper sticker I'm getting says, occupy your soul. And if you take the notion that each soul comes into the world aimed at something, in other words, and I wrote a whole book about that, Fate and Destiny, that the soul doesn't come in blank and just wander around saying, Jesus, which political party should I join? The soul comes in secretly aimed at something meaningful, and the more people that occupy their soul, the more people begin to live out their destiny. And the old rule is, if a person lives out their destiny, they are a benefit not just to themselves but to all of their neighbors, because they fulfill something meaningful that makes life meaningful. Nihilism means life means nothing. Soul work means we make a life of meaning together. So my new thing is occupy your soul.